What we're going to do today is there's been a lot of talk about the tax sales, a lot of confusion, and so we're just going to go over some basic information on Missouri tax sales, and hopefully that'll help us along a little bit. We do have some really good events coming up, so keep an eye on your emails, and you can always reach out to me. One of the things I wanted to point out, and I'm putting this right on the front here, is my email address. Go ahead, if you're taking notes, jot that down because we're going to have some things that I'm going to send to you. And I want you to be able to get that. That's ams826@yahoo.com. And that's an easy one to remember. So if there's anything you want to know, and I do have, like I said, some stuff I'm going to give to you also. So I think we're right about 1 o'clock. So we'll go ahead and get started here. Like I said, we're going to record this. What we're going to do is just go over some basics. What are Missouri tax sales? And then we're going to talk a little bit about how they work and how you can get started, and then where you can find out more information. I kind of called this 1.0 just to kind of go along with what, the way things are these days. And there's a lot more to it than what we're going to go over today, but I want to kind of just introduce you to some of this stuff, and then we're going to talk about ways you can go to 2.0 plus and get some more information, because you can get as deep into this as you want to, or as shallow as you want to. But the main thing is we just had so many questions lately, and we do, with STLREIA, we do have our main meeting coming up August 20th with Dale Sweet. He's one of the local attorneys, one of the top in the state. So I do encourage you to show up at the event. We probably will have a virtual option, and you can find out more about that later on the RIA website. So, all right. So, all right, just a quick disclaimer. I'm not an attorney, and it says on here you can't reproduce this or anything. I don't really care if you do. You can copy this and use any of the information I put out there, because most of this is coming from the state and from other places. I am not advising you on anything financially, but this is just for your illustrated purposes, for your own information. And it's as is. I do highly recommend that you do get counsel for anything and get some advice from professionals in order to move forward. But this is just going to be a brief introduction and some basics here today. So, what are Missouri tax sales? Well, most of the information, in fact, this is where it comes from the State Tax Commission of Missouri. This is under Chapter 140, the Tax Sale Procedure Manual. I do have a PDF copy that I am going to give to you. One reason I wanted you to write down my email address. So anybody that wants that, I'm going to give you the full thing. I do have a PDF copy along with some other things I will give you at the end of this if you just request that from me. It's about, I don't know, 40 pages or so, 45 pages maybe, of all the the complete procedure. And I do want to say up front, every county and every entity is different. So get specifics out of where you want to invest or go to the sales or however you want to deal with it. But because they are all different, and you will need to know that going into the counties. All right. What are Missouri tax sales? Well, they're the sale of delinquent taxes owed to the state for roads, parks, and all the things that we need and enjoy. The sales are held annually the fourth Monday in August in accordance with Chapter 140 of the Revised Statutes of Missouri. They consist of a first, second, and third year tax sale. Again, they are county specific and entity specific, depending on if you're dealing with the cities. The basic way they actually work, in most counties, the first or second year, if you don't pay your taxes, you don't really go up to the sale. They just accumulate with penalties and interest. After the 3 years of not paying taxes, they typically will go to the first year tax sale. Okay, the second year tax sale is typically 4 years of back taxes with penalties and interest. And then once you get to the third year tax sale, then that is 5 years of back taxes, and there's some other procedures you'll need to go through for there. They are either tax liens or tax deeds. Now, a tax lien, if you would go to maybe the first or second year tax sale, you could potentially get a lien if you are the winning bidder on a property, and then you would get paid back It's about 10, I think it is 10% interest. When and if the owner redeems the property. Okay, so you would not actually get a deed. You would just have a lien on the property the first couple of years. The third year, which is the 5 years of back taxes in Missouri, then you could potentially get a deed, and there's procedures you have to go through. We're just going to talk a little bit about that. If you want to do that, you are going to need to get some more information. I do highly recommend that you get that you hire an attorney that specializes in that, and that's one reason we have this Dale coming up to our meeting August 20th, and we're also going to talk about some other ways you can get information coming up, because we do have some really good events coming up here. They are county and city specific. Like I said, you want to make sure that you know what you're dealing with for the, where your properties are that you're looking at, whether you go to the auction or you buy them over the counter, or one of the other ways that you could get them. And we'll talk just a little bit about that. I'll kind of show you some of the stuff that I do too. And some frequently asked questions. What I did is I looked this up because this can get really deep into the weeds. So what I did is I went and found some what I thought was pretty good questions and answers here. This is actually from the county of Adair here in Missouri. Again, every county is different. There's 115 counties and cities or entities, and each one they all have their different set of rules and procedures. So I do highly recommend that you find out where you're wanting to invest, and find out what their rules are, and go by that. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about that. But these are some of the ones. I thought this was one of the better facts, frequently asked questions that I came across. So I just want to go through these with you before we go to the next step here. And the question would be, when, where, and what time is the back tax sale held? Well, state law requires that the sale be held on the fourth Monday in August of each year in or near the county courthouse. Sale time is 10 a.m. How many years must the property be delinquent before it is offered for sale? Well, in Adair County, in a lot of the counties, the property must be delinquent 3 years before it is offered at a back tax sale. Other counties offer 2 years, and some even after 1 year. How much do I have to pay to buy a property at a back tax sale? Well, the sale is conducted like any other public auction. The starting bid is the combined amount of unpaid tax, interest, penalty, advertising cost, and any other cost related to the sale. If more than one person bids on the property is sold to the highest bidder, and the cost would be the amount of the final bid. If you are the successful bidder, you must pay the amount of your bid immediately after the completion of the sale. And again, you want to check with the county that you're at. What happens to the dollar amounts that is paid for a property in excess of the amount of the tax and related cost? And that does come up. People overbid a lot of times over the amount. Well, this amount is called the overplus or the surplus, and the money is turned over to the county treasurer. The owner of record at the time of the sale is entitled to the money. If the owner cannot be found or does not come forward and ask for the money within 3 years after the date of the sale, then it is given to the county public schools. Okay, is the property mine the day of the sale? And the answer is, if you are the successful bidder on the day of the sale, you will receive a tax sale certificate of purchase. This certificate becomes a part of the permanent record of the collector's office and verifies that you were the successful bidder on the day of the sale. You are required to follow state statutes regarding post-sale requirements. After a 1-year waiting period, you can present your certificate along with documents required by the statutes to the county collector in exchange for a collector's deed. Once the collector's deed is properly recorded, then you are the lawful owner of record. Okay, and then the next question would be, of course, why must I wait 1 year before receiving a deed? Well, the owner of record of the day of the sale has 1 year right to redeem the property. That is anytime during the next year following the day of the sale, the owner can come forward and pay to the collector all tax, interest, penalties, advertising costs, and all related costs and will again become the full owner of record. That's called the redeeming the property. Now, if somebody redeems his or her properties, how do you get your money back? Well, if the property is redeemed, the county collector will collect the money from the original owner. You will then receive all the money you paid on the day of the sale plus interest. Interest is paid only on the amount of unpaid tax and expense of the sale and is not paid on the surplus. So if you bid over that, you're not going to get paid interest on that. And that will come from the county collector. Once you receive the money, your tax sale certificate of purchase becomes invalid and you must return to the collector at the time you receive your money back. Well, who pays the taxes during the 1-year redemption period? Well, you do, the holder of the tax sale certificate of purchase. You'll be billed for the tax during the 1-year redemption period. Okay, and what can I do to the property to improve or change it during the redemption period? This is actually a really good question right here. That's really entirely up to you. And I've heard talk with people who do cut the grass and things because you're going to have sometimes the city coming after you for that, some of that kind of stuff. That's entirely up to you. But any money that you do spend during that time before you actually have the deed is just basically spent money. You will not get that money back when and if the property is redeemed. Okay. Does a back tax sale clear the property of all other liens? Again, this is a great question. The answer is no. Okay, the only lien that is cleared through the tax sale process is the property tax. The property may also have other liens such as mortgages, income tax liens, judgments, levies, etc. And these liens can be eliminated following statute requirements. We'll talk more about liens here in just a little bit here, but that's a big deal. A lot of people, and I've been through presentations where people say that you go to a tax sale and it'll wipe out all the other liens. That is not true. There's a quiet title process and there's some other things you have to do. And we'll talk about that more here in a little bit. And let's see, how would I know or find out about other possible liens against the property? Well, the only sure way to find out is to do a lien search of the public record. Now, if you're not familiar with public record searches, it would probably be best to hire someone who can conduct a complete search for you, which I would highly recommend myself. Most title and abstracts companies will charge a fee to provide the service, and you are required to complete a lien search before applying for a collector's deed during that year. You must also follow state statute requirements before existing liens can be canceled. Again, that would cover the quiet title. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. Most of the ones that I've done personally, that I get a letter report before I would even look at buying some of the properties, because that would kind of give you an idea what you're even up against. Because some of these properties, they're going to come with so much stuff on them that you're probably not going to want to even get into it. But again, and that's totally up to you, and that's where your due diligence will come in, and you'll want to get a good title company that's familiar with the process too. Can I recover the cost of a lien search from the collector or the owner? No, absolutely not. That's money you need to invest up front. Should I purchase a tax sale property without doing a lien search? Well, that decision really is entirely up to you. It's really not recommended. On some of the smaller ones I have personally done, I do not put the extra money into that, but that really depends on what it is. And you're really going to want to be kind of pretty much experienced before you go doing that, because you can open up a lot of cans of worms, and you can open up some liens and some things that happen where people will come after you for certain things. If a property does have other liens, how do I get them to remove the record? Well, you're required to do a lien search between 120 days and 90 days before the end of the 1-year redemption period. You must notify by certified mail, first class mail, and first class to occupants, if any lien holder, as well as the previous owner, of your intent to apply for and record a collector's deed. This notice must be mailed at least 90 days before the end of the 1-year redemption period. If you do not receive a response from any lien holder or property owner within the 90-day period, they are forever barred from enforcing their lien against you and the property. The reason you must notify the previous owner is to provide a warning that the 1-year redemption period is ending. This is where I would highly recommend a competent attorney that deals specifically in this. Will a title insurance company issue an owner's policy of title insurance on property purchased at a back tax sale? All right. Well, most title companies will not issue an owner's policy immediately. And Adair County here says that usually it requires a period of several years is required before title insurance can be purchased. You should contact your title company before purchasing a tax sale property and ask about their policy. There are some other ways, and again, that's something you could get into a little bit deeper should you choose to go this route, but there are ways to do it. I know we have a title company I've dealt with several times. They would actually, depending on what you sold the property for, they would insure it for that amount because it is insurance, and you can buy insurance on just about anything depending on how they have it set up. But that's where you're really going to want to you're going to want to talk to the title company, usually in the county, in the area where you're at. There are some that specialize in it. And again, get yourself a good attorney that specializes in this, because the quiet title process, which we're going to just touch on that a little bit, that is really what you're ultimately going to want to do. And that's the only true way to get a clear title, because the liens don't just magically go away. And I could tell you stories all day about quiet title suits we went to, because they're pretty entertaining, some of them. We had one with 54 defendants on one lawsuit, and the bailiff was out there calling all the people, even though we were there. But then none of them actually showed up. But some of them were like the city of Park Hills. It was like Wells Fargo. It was it was all kinds of stuff, mechanics liens. Most people don't show up, but you just don't know what you're going to get into, and that's where you're going to need to have somebody that actually specializes in that. Let's see, just a couple more questions here, and then we'll get into some more stuff here. What happens if no bid is received at the tax sale? Well, the property must be offered at the sale each year for 3 consecutive years. If not sold at any of the 3 sales, the property can then be purchased anytime after the 3rd offering in the collector's office at a price agreed to by you and the collector, with no redemption period, or from the county trustee if one is used. Many counties do have a trustee that they assign these to, and that's something you'll need to find out when you're going through that process. And then it would be called an over-the-counter sale, OTC. That's something I've personally done a lot of. We'll just talk a little bit about them in a little bit, but there's different counties do different things and have different ways of doing it. You're going to definitely want to know what the county does before you get into the process. And how do I obtain a list of properties prior to the sale date? Well, the list of properties to be offered at the sale is published in a newspaper, which has county-wide distribution once a week for 3 consecutive weeks, with the last publication at least 15 days prior to the sale date. Property owners can remove their property from the sale list by paying any time prior to the scheduled hour of the sale. Okay, this is something that I recommend you get out there. In fact, I'm in the process right now of getting a lot of lists, but you're going to want to check those right before the sale. There's a lot of people that go in there and pay their taxes just to keep it out of the sale. I personally had a property last year in St. Louis County that I was selling to somebody else. He did not pay the property for 3 years. I went in there and paid it, and just to keep it out of the sale. Like the Friday before the 4th Monday, it of course came out of the sale. Since then, I've sold the property, but that's something you want to be aware of, because somebody could actually buy the lien and get a lien on your property, even if it wasn't after the 3rd year sale where you would go through the redemption period. They could still go in there and get a lien on it. So those are some of the questions. I can give you a copy of this too if you want the FAQs, the frequently asked questions. This is from Adair County. It's just one I found that was pretty good, and I thought I'd share that because it answers a lot of our common questions here. So How did tax sales work and how can you get started? Well, with auctions, you must be present to bid. Now, some are online. St. Louis County this year is doing one online by sealed bid, which is that brings up some other complications. Again, if you want to know about that, I'm going to give you a link here to where you can go find out a little bit more about that. We're covering a pretty broad spectrum today of basics, and you're going to want to find out what county you're into. I know a lot of people here joining us today probably are from St. Louis County. Or from close to it, and you'll just want to make sure that you know what the process is, and you want to get registered ahead of time. Some of them you have to get your registration notarized and get it back to them. So make sure you find out what the requirements are for the county or city where you want to bid on the properties. Sales are only to Missouri residents, and then non-residents must have a designated resident agent. I personally have been a registered agent for some people that I know, for some people in some of our groups from out of town and actually out of the country. The other thing you can do is you can get a Missouri resident to buy the property for you and then buy it from them. I've sold a lot of properties that way too, but this is something you definitely want to make sure of. The ones that are online, like St. Louis County is doing this year, is going to be by sealed bid. So you definitely want to make sure you know what the procedures are. Yeah, each county has its own rules that you must abide by. It's very important to find that out up front. You want to get a list of the properties and procedures from the county or city of what we call farming area. And I say farming area. I got that from my mentor, Robert Allen, and his partner, Tom Painter, because and this is what I found too with the counties years ago. When I first started finding out about tax sales, there's 115 counties or entities in Missouri. I think there's 114, and then one's incorporated or something like that. But there's 115 different places that have tax sales every year. And what I found, I used to think that I'd like to go to each one, but you got to be there in person. So I picked out just a couple of counties. There was actually 5 of them that I actually ended up specializing in, and I still to this day only deal with those 5 because it gets too complicated. Plus the procedures are different, and Missouri is a lot bigger state once you start driving around to all the courthouses too. So you might probably want to just pick one area and work there. That would be your farming area, but find out. And this is kind of what I say with anything. Pick out one area of investing and just become an expert in that area. Be the best. Don't try to be a jack of all trade. Same thing with the counties. There's so many different ones. You're not going to be an expert at every county, but pick out an area and be the best there. Get registered, go to the auctions or bid online. I mean, you just definitely, like I said, find out what the county or the entity procedures are. Now, many can be bought OTC, that's over the counter, and some are even what I call free-for-all sales. There was a county years ago that had, when I first started doing this, they had actually literally had hundreds of them every year that would come up. And what they would do is they would take the 5 years of back taxes of the 3-year tax sales that were not sold at the sale. They would take the 5 years, then they would divide it into a fourth. Okay. And so I bought a lot of these properties for 25% of whatever the back taxes were. Now they don't do that anymore because they've gotten more popular in that county, and probably because of me, because I got drew too much attention there, which is okay too, though. But you used to only pay 25% of whatever it said on there. Now they're a little bit different, but you could still find some that are, basically free for all. But many counties out here in Missouri do have over the counter sales. And I know some of you guys that know me know I've done a lot of this, and I'm going to show you one little bitty example here in a minute of just kind of how I still do this. And here's one right here. And the only reason I'm even showing you this, I did not plan on putting this in there, but I had to stop when I was putting my slides together a couple of days ago because I had to fill out a receipt. So I thought, well, I'm just going to show you this. This is what you can actually do. This is a property that I bought, and I like building and camping lots. Some of you guys that know me know I like to do this, but this is one I bought for $312.81. Okay. I also paid $70. That was a recording fee and I think they called it a transfer or something like that. So it was less than $400 I had tied up into this. This was a couple years ago, about 2 years ago. So I sold it to this guy for $8,999. He gave me $640 down payment, and then we agreed on $69 a month, 0% interest, and that started September 1st, 2022. Actually, he paid me $199 in addition to this also for my transfer costs. That's something I just usually put on all my deals. So anyway, this is the reason I'm even showing you this, because I had to stop and do this in the middle of my slides when the mail came. But this is the $69 he's supposed to pay a month. He actually pays $100 a month. He's been doing this now for a couple of years. He still owes me $5,913.01. I put the taxes on there, even though because I keep it in my name. This is one of my strategies. I still own the property, but I'm selling it to somebody else through owner financing. So that's just a real simple way to do it. But as you can see, you can turn, I like to show you this kind of stuff too, because you don't need a lot of money to do something like this. I mean, this one here, I got less than $500 into it. He still owes me $5,900. So, I don't know how long that goes for. $100 a month, I guess 59 more months, plus whatever the taxes are every year. And a couple of things I want to point out, things to be aware of. Okay. Redemption periods, notices, types of deeds. We talked a little bit about the redemption period. If you buy over the counter like the one I just showed you, you're not going to have a redemption period. You'll actually get a collector's deed or a sheriff's deed, depending on the county right there. But most of them, when you do go to the auction, or even if you buy online, like St. Louis County is doing this year, you are going to have that 1 year redemption period. You're going to have the notices we just briefly talked about, and that you're going to have to go through their procedures in order to get your deed. This is where I would highly recommend that you get a good competent attorney in the area that you work at. Title issues, we just touched on those barely, but this is something you really want to pay attention to. This is actually a big deal. This can make or break your deals. Okay, because there's many of the titles, they do have liens. This stuff doesn't just get cleared up once you get a collector's deed. There's city and municipal charges. I've had grass cutting fees, weed abatement, a lot of the counties call them. They might have been cutting the grass for the last 3 years or 5 years. Well, Hazelwood, they put on $282 every time they cut the grass, and they love to get you on their payroll, because I've had properties I was selling there where the owners didn't cut the grass and the city did. Well, all of a sudden at the end of the year, you get all these grass cutting charges. And I will tell you from personal experience, at $282 every time they go out there, it adds up really quick, because they'll go out there twice a month. Different ones are different. I've had Park Hills in Farmington where they only charge you maybe $700 for the whole year. So it just depends on the municipality, the city. Most counties, if it's rural property, they don't really have a lot of that, but you do have to check into it. Sewer liens, this is a big one that's come up in the last several years. I know in the St. Louis area, MSD, they do not forgive anything anymore. When I was a mortgage broker years ago, and we do refinance for people buying the houses, we could negotiate with them. Like if they had a $5,000 sewer bill, a lot of times I'd negotiate that down to maybe $2,000 or $2,500 or whatever we could come up with for them that made sense to make the deals work. They do not do that anymore. They just keep it there. But it's just like if you have rental properties and your renters are, which I don't know why anybody would do that today, but there's still people out there that have their renters pay the sewer bills. If they don't pay it, they can't turn the sewer off, but they will put a lien on there, and this can add up really quickly. That is a big thing to be aware of when you're buying a property for back taxes. HOA fees, you really need to know about this too. And what I've come to do over the years is I will get a hold of the HOA ahead of time, get a copy of their bylaws, and then just talk to them. I've met with several of them that would forgive the back fees, especially on some of the rural areas with the building and camping lots that I like myself. Most of them will waive them, but not all of them. There's some that I went to, I've actually met with them. They said, no matter what, we're not going to do it. Well, if you've got $5,000 or, $5,000 or $10,000 in back HOA fees, that could be a deal breaker if you're only looking at a $5,000 lot. So that's just something to keep in mind. Again, mortgages, that's something that doesn't really go away. They go with the property. Most of the time they will follow the person though, because At least in my experience, I've seen them go after the person, but I've also had a lot of these wiped off with a quiet title process, the lawsuits. And that's again where you're going to want to make sure you have a good attorney that specializes in these, because a lot of people have to be hunted down. They have to be notified. They have to have a chance to show up at court. And this is a process. So that's something to keep in mind. Again, we're just scratching the surface today, but there's a lot of things that you need to be aware of. And again, yeah, we kind of talked a little bit about this. Quiet title lawsuit is something that you're going to definitely want to do. Then you'll be able to get the title insurance and the things that you really need to have it like a regular process. But I just want to recommend that you do get a good attorney on that. All right, where to find out more? Like I said, we're just scratching the surface with some basics today. But to go to the next level, the 2.0 plus, you're gonna want to definitely know more if this is something that you do want to do. Again, if you haven't jotted it down, take down my email address, which is ams826@yahoo.com. And and there's some things that I will give you. First thing, like I said, is chapter 140 of the tax sale procedure manual for the revised statutes for Missouri from the state. This is directly from the state is where I got this. And I would definitely become familiar with this. Then again, like we talked about, the county, counties are specific. On August 20th, and this is one reason we're doing this today too, just to kind of get you some of the basics, get started. But we are having our local expert attorney, Dale Sweet. We'll be meeting at the Moolah Shrine Center on the 20th. Doors are going to open at 6:30. It will start about 7 o'clock. We probably will have a virtual option, and you can always check out STLREIA.com once we have that set up. I don't know if it's on there yet, but again, take down my email address and I'd be happy to send you a link for that. Now, if you want to know some things ahead of time, such as registration for St. Louis County, because their registration, the deadline's coming up quickly. This is Dale's website right here, MissouriTaxSales.com. You can go, and he has a lot of great resources on there. Again, I'm just trying to get you set up a little bit ahead of time. So if you are interested, that you do want to find out what their procedure is, St. Louis County is taking bids online by mail this time. So you're going to want to make sure you get those in. You do have to pay your money with your bid too, though. So that's another whole process. And so you want to make sure that you're prepared for that. And then also I wanted to bring this up too. I know some of you guys are already on the waiting list for the Missouri Tax Sale Seminar next year. That's going to be here in St. Louis. We've been kind of working on that with Scott Walterbach, who put on. My wife and I, Laura, just went to the one in Gladstone this past June, and I tell you, it was great. And I love being the dumbest person in the room there with all these smart people to find out all this stuff. But there's so much more to it. But if you're at all interested, this will be in St. Louis next year. And I know some of you guys are on the waiting list, but I encourage you to get on there now. And again, just send me an email, and just with your, just basic information, your name, contact information, whether you're an investor or a professional or an attorney or a government employee also. And I have talked to a couple collectors, which I think will be there this year too, some counties I deal with, but this is just a room full of great information and great people that are on the cutting edge of this. This is a great way to learn that. So I highly encourage you, if you're interested at all, to get on that list. Just send me an email. And these are just some of the people we've learned from. This is about all I have as far as the introduction. Does anybody got any questions? Everybody knows everything now? No, it's a complicated subject, but I really encourage you not to get too frustrated. Just learn. Just keep learning. We gotta
just say thank you for all the info. That was really concise and pretty much, at least from what I know, touched on pretty much everything.
Thank you.
I don't.
Yeah, you have properties I know in the city. St. Louis City is even different too. I know Dale knows about those a little bit more, but that's something, like I said, pick out a farming area and just be, this is what I recommend for anything. Just be the best in that area.
That's a great suggestion, because it is complicated. Every single place has its own, it's complicated, or at least be really, really good at that area before you tackle another one.
Yeah, like I said, I thought at the time I would try to, own a property, at least go to an auction in all 115 counties, but that's almost impossible. So just I wouldn't even pick out 5 like I did. I'd just pick out one and be the best there. Oh, and I see Scott's there. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate you attending here. Scott's actually the one that puts on the tax seminar, which I highly recommend. It's got some of the best minds in Missouri and some of the best information I've been to. So, and it's going to be in St. Louis this year. So, if you could all, if you can, I'd just mark my calendar. I'd cancel everything else. I would just automatically be there if I were you. Let's see. We got a question here from Trini, I believe. Counties have a list of all the liens. Here's my experience with the counties. If you could go, a lot of times go to the courthouse, the recorder's office, and they will let you sit down and research some of this. I would recommend, though, getting a title search myself, at least a letter report. Letter reports are a little bit less money than a full-fledged title search. Typically, I think I spend about $175, and it really depends on the title company that you use. But that's a good way to get started. That's not a full-fledged search, but a letter report will show you pretty much what's on there. That's a good way to get started. That's a good thing to give to your attorney too, should you go to the next step to get the quiet title. But I'll tell you what, that's some of the best money you will spend, because that could potentially save you from a lot of heartache if you get something with a lot of liens. I know some of the counties last year, I know Taney County had what they called SID fees. I think it's County Improvement District or something like that. We looked at some properties, and I talked to some people at another group, and the lady I talked to at the recorder's office, actually, she said, be aware of those things. Well, they had these properties, and I ended up buying one in this nice neighborhood down by Branson. It wasn't very much money, and we, of course, we had to go through these other processes. But if it had the SID fees on it, there was a back SID fee of like $28,000, and then you had to pay them going forward for like another 5 years before that dropped off. So there's just stuff like that you're not going to necessarily know, because you get a list of these properties, which, I recommend you just do that. Just get a list of the properties and start looking at them and doing some research. I mean, this is a great way to learn. Get right in there, but just go ahead and start looking at them, because if you get into something like that, then all of a sudden the SID fee or whatever you might have on there, they're going to want their $28,000, even if you only paid $1,000 for the property. And now you're obligated for whatever it is for the next several years. So just be aware of that kind of stuff. And there's no way you're going to know that until you get one. Okay, Kristen, what's your criteria for good deal? What would kick it out? It's really, that's up to you. That's whatever your standards are. For me, I like building and camping lots, because there's not, depending on the history of the properties in the neighborhood, there's not a lot that comes up on those. I've gotten a lot of houses too. One of the things that I do, and I think you might know this too, though, I like getting the list of the first and second year tax sale list, the ones that you don't necessarily own that could potentially be liens, but I like contacting the owners. And I've gotten several properties for free, that people have just given to me, and then they don't even go through the tax sale process. A lot of these I paid when I first started doing it. I would pay them and keep them out of there. But now what I do is I'll go ahead and turn around and sell those and let the new buyer pay the fee. So I've got some different ways I do that. But as far as criteria, I like the one I showed you. I like spending $500, and really I sold for more than that. Now the last 2 years have brought a lot of changes in the rural areas, and something I buy it for $500 now, I'll sell anywhere from $11,000 to about $20,000, 19,999, something like that. And I like to do owner financing. That's just me personally. But there's no right or wrong way to do any of it. It's just whatever works for you. That's why I said, though, just pick you an area and be the best at that. Did that answer your question? Kinda. All right. Anybody else got any other questions? How do you register? Yeah, send me an email and I will get you registered. Just put your name and, if you're an investor, professional, attorney, or a government worker, and then, just say that you want in on it. And I'll get you on our waiting list. Okay. Did I miss anything? Hey, Reginald. Yeah, good to see you, Reginald. Oh, okay. Scott's got his list in there, or his website in there. Great. Thank you. Yeah, I didn't know whether to share it, and I'm just kind of putting people on the waiting list right now that I'll send over to you. So thank you. Did I miss anything else? Yeah, anything. That's why I gave you my email address. So any questions you have, or if you just want to, I'll get you a copy of the chapter 140 from the state of Missouri. I can get you the questions and answers that I just went over from Adair County. Again, you're going to want to they are county and city specific. So make sure you find out the procedures from wherever you are, wherever your farming area is going to be. All right. Anybody else? Well, I thank you all for showing up today. It's good seeing you. Mark your calendars for August 20th. You can always go to STLREIA.com to find out more about the tax sale seminar, which I highly recommend. Go to, let's see, where was, yeah, that was forgive me here, mtss.com.
John, it's mtss.llc.
.llc. I'm sorry, LLC.
Oh, no
Thank
problem.
you very much. Yeah. I got too many things going on here. LLC. MTS. That's Missouri Tax Sale Seminar. LLC. .llc. Okay. And again, any questions, you can send me an email. I'll be happy to answer you anything you have, and I'll send you out that publication. And make sure you get on the list, because this would definitely be worth your time. All right. Well, I thank you all for coming, and we'll see you all soon.
Thank you, John.
Welcome, Jay.
Thank you, John.
Thanks.